tutors, mentors, and the city with your host.com.
The City Tutors presents
Tutors, mentors, and the city
with your host.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Kevin.com Brown, and welcome to Tutors, Mentors, and the City. And please join me in welcoming our guest for this episode, Dr. Jasmin Cowin. Yay!
And hello. I don't have my harp, otherwise I would do a big introduction. You see it back there.
Yes, Jasmin. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yes. So I never know what my first question is going to be. So when it's always what catches my eye or catches my ear or triggers a thought in my head. Now, that being said, Dr. Jasmin Cowin, what kind of doctor are you?
So I have a doctorate of education, and I have 2 master's degrees, one in music education from Teachers College, and my doctorate is also from Teachers College. And then I have another master's degree because I went back at 50. I got divorced at 48 and my skill level just wasn't right anymore. So I decided I am going to be a student again. And I went back to college, Marlborough College in Vermont, and I did a hybrid program. So I commuted to Vermont from Westchester, and I got a degree, Masters of Arts, but it was with a specialty in educational technology. So I confronted all of my fears about educational technology. And here I am. I got a job right away as a professor at Touro University. So that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made.
Wow. Okay. You know, that is that's interesting. I dropped out of college in 88. And I went back to school after 33 years and got my bachelor's degree. And I'm currently in a master's program right now. I'm currently a student right now. Well, so I can definitely relate to the returning to college concept. But you are a champion. You are my hero.
So I was a nursery school teacher in a bilingual school, and then I also taught at Education First. I was a lead faculty for the university prep program for international students. They would come to Education First, and then they would be prepared for university entrance. But I really wanted to go further with that and broaden my horizon. So I took that risk, and I remember what people would tell me. They would say, "You're almost retirement. Why are you bothering?" And I was like, I'm a lifelong learner, and I want to upskill. I want to be the best educator that I can be at any age. And I think that's very important that students today, you have to think about not just what you're doing now, but that this is going to be a continuous journey throughout your life, because the skill sets that you have now are going to get old with all of this technology that's happening, and you will need to harness that. And in order to harness the new technology that will be constantly come out and ideated new versions of it, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to keep learning. There is no more sitting on your laurels.
Excellent advice. So let me ask you this question. Were you identified as a brilliant student? You're going to be a doctor when you grow up? Wait, did they know that when you were a young Jasmin?
When I was a young Jasmin, okay, nobody thought I had any potential in any way whatsoever. And I mean that in every way that I can say. I had a teacher in first grade. So my father is from the Middle East. And I went to school during an age when Germany, post-World War, still had an older generation of teachers that had served during a very difficult time. And when she took a look at me against that sea of blonde-haired people, I really stood out. And she took a dislike to me. And she made me feel it. So whatever that was, it really hindered me as a student because I didn't feel loved. So when it comes in Germany at that time when I went to school, you at fourth grade, you took a test. And this test determined if you go to ninth grade and then you're going right into apprenticeship, or what they call a middle school, where you go up to 10th grade and you have the possibility to go to high school, or you're put into high school. So I was not put directly into high school. I was put into this in-between space called Realschule. And that I was very bored. So I was not a good student. And I would read the books during the summer break that were the textbooks. And then I would sit in the back of the class and I would read War and Peace and Gone with the Wind and Kafka and like anything that I could get my hands on. I was really good at chemistry, biology, music, English, and German, and I left everything else like to the wayside. So I was a solid B- student. B-, except for like 4 things that I was really good at. And then one thing that almost cost me my graduation, which was we had to do needle and housework, needlepoint, like you had to knit. And I just, for the life of me, I could never learn how to use a sewing machine. I broke the sewing machine at school. I was very embarrassed. So fast forward, I finished in grade 10, and then I became a licensed beautician and massage person. And I took the entrance exam for gifted students. And nobody believed that I could do that either for the university in Karlsruhe, Music University. And there were 1,000 applicants and there were 20 spots and I got in.
Wow.
And I did it all by myself. So I didn't care. People told me you're going to fail. You're never going to be able to do it. There are people who've been in orchestras. They've done all of these amazing things. And who are you? You're coming from this little town in Breton. You've never played in an orchestra. It's like, there's a 100% failure rate if you don't try. 100% failure. If you don't try, I can guarantee you're not going to get it. But if you try, it's like, at least you have a shot.
Absolutely. So,
I worked on it. I mean, I studied really hard. I got a harp from my parents, the one that you see back there, and I did the entrance exam. But I believed that I could do it. Sometimes we need too much from other people. You got to believe in yourself.
Now, where do you think this came from? Where do you think this confidence, this resilience, where do you think this came from?
So I think it came from my family. So in 1956, my father, his name was Khalil, left his family and his 15 siblings in Aleppo, Syria, to travel by train to Germany. And his dream was to become a physician. And the spark of his dream was the loss of his twin sisters, Asia and Adina, and they had died of measles in Syria, right? So my father's sponsor at the time was the Goethe Institute. So he went to something at a lake and he learned some German. And then he met my mother while he worked as a restaurant dishwasher in Heidelberg. And, he believed that he could become a doctor, right? And he did become a doctor. They married, right? And he enrolled as a medical student at the university in Heidelberg in 1958. And later, he became the revered town physician. He wasn't just caring for the general town populace, but he was very specific, like the locally underserved immigrant or migrant community. And that's really important to me because it correlates to my ability to relate to my students and where they are coming from. Because I also believe that it is and was the power of having access to education that reframed my father's narrative to a living testimonial on the opportunities and the transformative power of education.
Okay, and you saw your father, or I guess it must have been in your DNA, right? Now, did you come up with siblings? Did you have siblings?
I have a brother who is a doctor, and I have a sister who is a banker, and I became a harpist. And then I got a Fulbright scholarship to come to America. I returned after that was done. And you know, and as life turns out, I was offered another opportunity to come to America, and I took it because I was still in my early 20s. And as life goes, I ended up in a different place. I met someone, and I went to New York eventually, and went to Columbia University. And I remember I walked in there with my transcripts, summer semester B, and I didn't know that it was summer semester B. I was still very young. I had all of my transcripts, and I wondered if I could take a course. And before I knew it, I was enrolled in their program. I was like, oh, this is not so hard. And I think one of the things that we have done is we have weaponized bureaucracy for our aspiring students. We are making it too hard with bureaucratic hurdles for students to come into programs. I mean, we work very hard, but generally you need to fill out, you need to have your GED, you need to have this, you need a paper of that, you need, like, what else do you need, right? I mean, so I work with Burundi. These students don't have paper records. I don't even know where they would get these records. I mean, they're in Swahili or in Kirundi or in French. But if they wanted to come to America, there would be a whole to-do to get them in, yet they are incredibly bright, So I was very fortunate because I don't believe that I would have gotten into any of these universities today.
I've never heard those two words used together, weaponized bureaucracy. Wow.
Our university, Touro, works really hard to tone, faculty, everybody works on the student journey. If a student writes us an email, right, we are all there. Like that email, within 1 hour, it gets answered. We call, what do you need? How can we support you from Touro University? How can we help you to make this a successful onboarding experience? What is it that you need from us, right? That should be everywhere.
Wow.
It's the most important. The most important part when a student comes to an institution of education like Touro University is that we extend our welcome, which is something that we do actively, right? So if a student has issues with getting a reference letter or something like that, which is part of our onboarding, we work with them. We don't say, you're on your own. No, I call, I say, what is the hurdle? What is your challenge? How can I help you? And if they say, well, you know how it's with reference letters. Sometimes people don't want to write it because it's a lot of work. I have a little stock reference letter, and I say, maybe if you give them a starter reference letter, they can flesh it out and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And, we come up with creative strategies. But I have met people that have gone to other institutions and they literally have given up the application process because it was so Byzantine. You need a triple translated, notarized copy of your foreign credentials. Well, that's hard. That's going to take a long time. You know what I mean? So you need to take all of these tests. I mean, the hurdles are hard. We are a multi-ethnic society with many people coming from different countries. And if you left a country in a hurry because there's a war, the likelihood that you're going to get all of these pieces of papers are zero. So if you're coming from the Ukraine, and your school was bombed, how are you going to get all of these pieces of paper, right? But there isn't a lot of leeway in big institutions to mitigate, I believe. But I'm not an expert in it. I just know at Touro University, our directive is to work with every student and meet them where they are.
It's not often that I get on these calls and someone offers a perspective that you just connected so many dots in my head, right? Just by using that terminology. I really appreciate it. Now, let's pivot. Let's pivot for a second. All right. So you because you glossed over this Fulbright scholarship, right? They don't just give those away. That's a big deal.
Yes.
Right?
I was 19 when I got it.
So at 19, someone had already identified you as an exceptional scholar or exceptional artist in some way.
I believe everybody is exceptional. We come with so many gifts that have been endowed to us. And I believe we have a responsibility to fully leverage everything that was given to us for free, right? These are gifts that are given to us. We are endowed with them. And we need to work really hard and with a focus to complete what this gift is. And that means that we practice our art, whatever that is. If you are a pottery master, then become the best potter. If you are a math person, then you do the best that you can do, but it is practice. It's not just that there is a gift. It is the sustained, active work that you do with whatever you want to excel at. And that means you're doing it every day, and you're doing it with love. If you don't have joy doing it, it's not the right thing, because life is long. And if you're spending most of your life hating what you do, then don't do it, because it's a sad thing, right? There should be joy. When you wake up, you should be happy that you're going to work, because that work is fulfilling to you, or those studies make you happy because they inspire you. If that doesn't happen, then where is the joie de vivre, right? Like this feeling of that spring in your step. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do that. Even though it's hard, I can't wait to do it. Like I'm learning new things right now. I want to get another certificate. I just became a certified metaverse expert. It's like fun.
Wow. I would love to find out more about that. But let's back up now, because most people, I'm in New York, born and raised. Most American citizens don't get up happy. Okay, first of all. And then there's no joy in their journey to work. Their only compensation is the check, but it's not because of the joy of being there. I mean, what you just said sounds impossible for most people. So
I'm a teacher trainer, right? So I train teachers, and I lead, and our program at Touro University, TESOL and Bilingual, we recommend teachers for teacher certification in both teaching English as a second language and in bilingual education. So it is very important that our teachers transmit this joy that they have in working with students, right? Because they influence these children on a long-term basis. I mean, one of the focuses that I work with is that I believe that educational transformation starts with educators who value their students and see the students' personal and collective experiences as an asset. And I also believe in practice and advocate Linda Miller's philosophy of abundance. And I speak to my students about this personal approach, where I believe teaching is an act of love, because we love these younger generations and we want to nurture and bring them up. Like we water the seeds, but you don't water a seed by being glum. Right? If there's no sunshine on the seed, it won't grow. And if there is no sunshine in your life, then professionally, it's unlikely that you will get that job promotion or that you will grow within your profession, because if you have no joy, everybody around senses that. People really are much rather work with a happy person than with somebody who is unhappy. I mean, you know how that feels when you come in an office and everybody's very glum. There doesn't seem to be that positive synergy and energy. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about it, Kevin?
No, I'm with you. You're giving me insight. Now let's go to a moment. I'm gonna connect the dots on two moments from this conversation. you had mentioned you were already a doctor, and you had mentioned that you felt the need to still go back to school even after you had already achieved a doctorate. What kind of things are you confronting that makes a doctor feel like I need more, or this isn't enough? What was happening in your life?
Okay, so as we entered a transition into a more technology-driven education space, my skill set was no longer on par with what I predicted the future would ask of me. And so I wanted to get a disciplined approach to my learning journey. And I also wanted to get a degree to showcase that I can do certain things, right? And that, at Marlborough College, they had this fabulous hybrid program, and I purposefully did not join a New York educational institution because I didn't want to go through that weaponized bureaucracy process. I wanted to be in a place that would be happy to have me. And when I applied to Marlborough College, there was very little bureaucracy, and I had a very easy onboarding experience. And that's why I said the weaponized bureaucracy, because when I applied, the amount of paperwork people wanted from me dating back to my elementary school, who cares about my elementary school? I mean, really, it's like, who cares? Even if I had worked, even if I had gone barefoot in a desert, if I ended up with a doctorate and I have a piece of paper from Columbia University to show that I graduated from them, that really should be enough. You don't need to go back to somebody's grade school. It's not necessary. What do you need that for? I mean, seriously, what insight will it give to you? It's that I was an unhappy third grader. It's like, wow, how meaningful is that for an application process? It's more important to see, for example, I was working. What were my recommendations from the people that I was working with? That would be a much more important piece of information, in my opinion. But so here I needed better tech skills. And I went to Vermont because it's a very different environment. And I wanted to go out of my comfort space. And I also wanted to try something that was very new at the time. And that was a hybrid program where you had to go on the weekends once a month for 2.5 days to Marlborough College, where you worked in person and the rest was online. So that was very new then. And it was awesome because I could work and I could go to university, and I loved it because I got both.
Yeah. So when you went back to the university, went to Vermont, did they have dorms? Did you have to have an apartment or stay in a hotel? How that work?
So in the beginning, so the first time I took my son there, and I took him to campus, and he hung out there, and he was a teenager. So he looked at me like, he's like, I'm not doing this again. I don't really care what you say. I was like, no, thank you. It's boring. Okay, of course I understand that. So I was able to work that out because it was a once a month thing. No, there were no dorms. So I stayed in a motel one time, then I stayed in a hotel one time. And then I found, because I was in a community of learners, that there was a former student who had a house close by, and we became friendly because we were in the same, she was an educator who worked with language pathology, and I'm a language educator, and we had great conversations. And I don't know if you're aware, Marlborough College, the community hall, was where Robert Frost gave his seminal lectures. Robert Frost work there. So we had these great conversations. And then she finally said, one night I slept in my car because I didn't like the motel. It looked like it had roaches. So I got yucked out. So she said, why don't you stay over at my place? And a great friendship was born. I was so grateful to her. I was so yucked out with those big roaches in that motel. I can't even tell you.
Okay, so it sounds like a really cool journey. So I want to find out more about this metaverse expertise. What made you think to pursue that, and where did you find a place that teaches that?
Okay, so it's an online certificate, and you go through the different technical requirements to build a metaverse, and you understand how parts of it work together and what you can use it for. So I got it from the Blockchain Council, and I learned that I have more to learn. But I currently work with a program called Agora World, and in Agora World, I can build metaverses for free, and I can try them out because I believe that they hold a new place in simulation environments to work with students. So on one hand, I'm working with a program called SimSchool to do simulations that are powered by an artificial intelligence that is based on different models, like the ocean model, like the Horn model, psychology, New York State standards, and you work with avatars in the simulation and you interact with them. That is one set that I'm working with. And then I'm working with these metaverses because I believe that you will find them eventually when this has been built out. I'm at the early development stage, right? But eventually these will be built out, and I believe they will be used for teaching. I'm trying to figure out what you can use them for. So you could use them, because I teach English as a second language, for specific conversations that are geared to specific purposes, like how to interact in a restaurant and how to go into a doctor's office. So perhaps for newcomers from other countries, you could have a program in there where they don't actually do the field trip, but they're all in this metaverse, and you go through a cultural acclimatization sort of process. I could see it for that. I could also see it for teaching teacher candidates how to build their own metaverse so that they can work with their own students in these metaverses, or perhaps virtual field trips. I mean, it's a big place. And for our teachers today, they need to understand how to use these technologies, because as they move along within their teaching profession, eventually these capabilities will be asked of them. So I want to make sure that I give them the tools so that when they encounter it later on in their career, that this isn't the first encounter, but that they have perhaps tried a better version or worked in a sandbox or constructed a metaverse for their portfolio. So it's not something that seems very foreign. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense. So the metaverse, is that virtual, where you use those virtual goggles?
I work with Agora World. So Agora World is a no-code metaverse. And you go into Agora World, and you have to download their software, and you get 2 free metaverses. So you can, and they have templates. And the nice thing is that the templates are done, right? And all you need to do is you upload assets like a picture or a video or this, various parts. And because the template is pre-done for you, and you just upload it into slots and you pick publish, that is a very low entry point for people who don't want to create a 3D asset, spawn an object. All of that is a bigger conversation. So you can now have an interactive experience in a metaverse like that, and perhaps build a gallery walk, where you simulate a lesson, or you do a quest. So that's one of the things. And no code means, because I am not a coder, that you really don't need to code. And I'm always looking for things like that.
That is so fascinating. Oh my goodness. Okay. So thank you for the insight you're sharing with me. But this is a conversation about you. Let's go back to you. Even though you're filled with so much knowledge, so much fascinating knowledge. I hope the people, particularly, or I was going to say particularly the young people, but any age can learn so much from what you're saying, from the insights you're giving on just how to maneuver. Now, all that being said, I'm a fan of yours. You're obviously brilliant. Your insights is what's happening now, and I really respect that. I appreciate that. So now, all that being said, did we leave something out of your story? What if you went to sleep, woke up tomorrow, and said, "Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention this." What would that be?
So I work with today's students, tomorrow's teachers, which is a organization with a mission to recruit, mentor, and train culturally diverse and economically challenged students from high school through college and place them as effective teachers and committed leaders who strengthen schools and communities. And the founder of it is Betty Perkins. So we're looking for these minority students and the Black males that are really missing in our schools as educators. And we work with them from an early age on through a mentoring process, and then bring them into this teaching community. And very often they come back to their own schools to become those role models. So that's an important part of the joy, because I want to give back, right? And the second part that I do is I work, my passion is the Sustainable Development Goal 4C, professionalization of teacher education in small developing nations and island states. So I work with Burundi, and I work with a program there called Computers for Schools Burundi. And I used to be the president of the Rotary Club of New York, and then an assistant governor for District 7230. And we would get these grants together to put computers in these Burundian schools. And I have a counterpart, Emmanuel, who is the CEO and founder in Burundi. Because one of the things that I need to avoid is this white colonialism approach, right? Where I feel that I know everything. I don't know anything about Burundi. I have to listen to what they want, what their needs are, and figure out how I can be helpful, right? It's a completely different, I don't bring solutions. I have to listen to what they want. And Emma told me, Emmanuel, that he needed computers. That's what he wanted. He studied computer science. He doesn't need my help with that, but he did need the hardware. And then he needed to we talked about, about software. What is it that you need there? Like, where can I reach out for you to make that possible? And to have these Rotary connections. How can I facilitate a multi-district grant for you? What do you need from me? And through that, a friendship grew, and I presented about his efforts and his team. He has a fabulous team, right? So I talked about it at conferences to get an interest there, for other people to come and give him the opportunity to have other people working with him for free. And now there are 5 schools and 350 teachers and 12,000 students. And it's a few years later, so I'm very excited about that. The credit all goes to Emma and his team. And then I work with Yemen as a TESOL trainer. This is a very specific. So I got a degree in teaching English as a second language, and I met the person from the Institute of Future Translations there, and it was a match made in heaven, because as it turns out, he also had a Fulbright scholarship, if you can believe it, and we started working together for many years. And the nice thing is with this virtual Zoom, I was able to work with groups in Yemen, teachers, and helping to train them with the best practices in teaching English as a second language.
Okay. Now, what's the name of the organization again?
Okay, let me find it so I don't make a mistake. The Future Horizons Foundation for Translation and Training, and my colleague, Training and Development, and my colleague there is Dr. Abdullah Al-Gurbani. Dr. Abdullah Al-Gurbani, and he's he trains TESOL, teaching English as a second language, teachers in Yemen because it's a high demand skill. And in Burundi, working with computers is a high demand skill. So if you want to get employed, you need to have these skills.
Tell Dr. Abdullah that .com said the name needs work, okay? He needs a nickname for the organization. That's a mouthful. You don't have to put the whole.
You know, I think that it's probably different in Arabic, right? So when you translate a title from another country, from another language, it probably does not. It's probably not as elegant as the original version. So I did once an infographic because I realized that everything we were doing was in English because it's the only language other than German that I can speak for my Burundian colleagues. And then it came to me, I said, I felt that I woke up one night and I said, it's a colonial expectation of a white woman that everybody speaks English. Right? So I called Emma up and I said, you know, I'm really sorry about this. I said, how can we include your native languages, which is Kirundi? And so I created an infographic where we took the most used terms and we did a translation. For some of the terms, there is no Kirundi word. Right. I mean, you know, so that was a fascinating, fascinating to work with a group and trying to translate these English terminologies into a native language of Kirundi, because and the words then became very long because the way Kirundi expresses itself is very different from English. It was a very joyful moment.
So here's a question. He got the computers. What out there? What's the Wi-Fi like in Burundi? Was that a thing, the internet?
Okay, so internet is available. And as in all developing countries, you know, there's usually electricity comes in and comes out. Okay, so but that is to be expected because, you know, there's a growth moment here. But it's amazing what you can do, right? So we now have solar power. We have a solar power idea. So we now have solar panels for some of the schools to provide internal electricity, and we also have solar panels for an agricultural program that we're doing, and financial literacy, because it's very important to have financial literacy, and that's with Computers for Schools Burundi. So there are multiple projects. There's also a project on e-waste, right? Because a lot of these smaller countries are the recipients of our garbage, which is really I could say a lot about that. So e-waste, however, if it's in good quality, can be reused for multiple purposes. But that's not my specialty. That is Emma's specialty. I am just there to help with curriculum development and advice when he needs it for projects that he plans. So I will be doing workshops for Computers for Schools Burundi on intercultural and intracultural competency training. I will be doing English language training for teachers, specifically with a focus on using the computers that they just got. So to teach them ways that they can use and harness the computers that they have for teaching English as a new language in Burundi.
That is fabulous. That's fabulous work. Your knowledge. I'm just fascinated by your knowledge. I'm fascinated by the insight you have. Your decision to go back to school and not only keep up with the technology that's happening today, but to excel. Like, it seems like you're ahead of the game now, right? And
we're really not ahead of the game. So I mean, so I will tell you what Noam Chomsky said on May 3rd. So there is this chat GPT and these large language models, and he said this subset of our artificial intelligence known as large language models, which is chat GPT, can't tell us anything about human language learning, but it excels at misleading the uninformed. So it was such an interesting viewpoint, because this is an article that he wrote. So he talks about this importance to like Aristotle has this distinction between possession of knowledge and the use of knowledge, right? So in contemporary terminology, competence and performance. So if I can know a lot of words, right? I can remember a lot of words, but there's a difference between remembering the words and then using them in the right context to get what I want, right? So I can be in possession of a lot of stuff in my head, but if I don't know how to use it to really become a knowledge aggregator, then it's not very useful knowledge. And I think, for our new generation, if we think that ChatGPT is going to somehow miraculously educate all of our students. So I don't know if you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy.
No.
So Bloom's taxonomy is on different levels. So first comes remember, and then comes understand, right? So before we can even go and ask ChatGPT anything, right? we sort of need to remember something, if you get my drift. So what are the levels, right? Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, right? So the top part of this pyramid, of this knowledge pyramid, is creation. But in order to create a prompt, and then to vet the prompt, if it is indeed giving me the right information, I need to be able to remember whatever the content is that I want more information about, understand the question that I am asking, apply my knowledge into the prompt, analyze when the prompt comes back, evaluate the information that ChatGPT or any AI has given me before I can go and create perhaps an essay or an article, right? Because large language models don't have ethos, pathos, and logos. They don't have an ethos. They are a large language model. They were not built by God. They were built by people who wrote code. So they are not without the possibility of failure. And it's actually called a hallucination of artificial intelligence. It will make up stuff. It has no ethos. And then it is us who will do the evaluation to make sure that what it's telling us, it will make up complete citations. It will make up like researchers. It will make up all kinds of stuff. And that's where our knowledge comes in. And if you don't have that knowledge, you will not be able to use a chat GPT or a generative AI to benefit your whatever specific purpose you are using it for. It won't do the work for you. It will help you, but it won't do it, because if you have nothing to remember and if you don't understand anything and you can't analyze anything, you wouldn't even be able to do a good prompt, much less understand what the prompt says. So don't be afraid. Just use it as a tool and then double check, triple check.
On that note, what you're telling me, I feel like you're using your teacher teaching a teacher skills on me, right? Because you're filling the dots in a lot of things in my mind. And I feel like I could start questioning you for a whole nother hour now, but I'm not going to do that. I appreciate the time you gave us, and thank you so much. So on that note, I don't know, I didn't ask you what I should call you, Dr. Jasmin, but Jasmin, thank you so much for joining us for this time. I wish I had time to explain to you being away from college for 30 years and then coming back to academia and seeing all these people who know so much, right? They know so much. Everybody's brilliant. Everybody has the documents to validate their brilliance. And I left school 30 years ago. So the things that I've accomplished, there's no certificate for it. There's no degree for it. Your validation is your money. Did you make a lot of money doing it? That's the only validation in the world I was in. So I come back and I see all these brilliant people and I hear them say so much, but I'm thinking, but you've never used that. You've never applied it. You're just talking right now. You take it out into the real world. It doesn't work like that in the real world. That's what I was thinking the whole time. So all the stuff you said, I feel enlightened. I feel like, wow, I'm gonna get off this call. I might have to watch the interview. I never rewatched the interviews. I might have to watch this interview again to re-intake all the knowledge you just shared with us. You shared so much. I really appreciate it.
If I can share anything, I just would like to share, connect with that inner joy, right? And treat yourself well, right? Don't always question and base your opinion about yourself on others, right? Because others might not be very kind. And instead, take care of yourself. And when you have a vision, like what you right now have is a vision of the life that you want, right? And you embrace that with love towards yourself, then you have a great journey in front of you. Others only have power over us if we give it to them. Money is wonderful. We need money in order to make our life work. But if money is everything, then your life becomes a transactional process. And that is not a transformative journey. You know, we're both getting older, right? And as you get older, there are other things that take priority in our life. So when you used to walk, like I'm a woman, so I would walk by things and I would like, oh, I want these expensive pairs of shoes, or I want this, or I want that. That actually lessens as you get older, and you're starting to think more of a generational space where you want to give something back. And if you have that, then all of a sudden, what is in front of us becomes less scary, because I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. And you want to leave the world a better place, because at City Tutors, that's exactly what you're doing. You're preparing a new generation. You're supporting minority candidates to be successful in life. And if there is anything that is valuable, then it is to give our young people an opportunity to be part of this tapestry of life, right? Tapestry of life. And you are weaving a beautiful tapestry as the City Tutors. And that's why you're upskilling. I have a firm belief that that's why you are upskilling.
Wow. I would have, if we put music behind that, that sounds like a song. It sounded so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. OMG, you are very impressive. It was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you so much for sharing your time and sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Kevin, you are lovely.
Oh,
no one has told you that. I'm going to tell you, you are lovely, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.